Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. My name is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. And we have a great topic this week. It's called the History Harvest and the History Harvest Community Church Service in our historic Georgetown neighborhood. We've got two wonderful guests with us. Julia Brunson is a longtime volunteer. They call her the mayor of Georgetown. She's here to talk about this incredible event. She's led the steering committee in the historic Georgetown community. And then we have a special guest, Dr. Connie Lester, an associate professor of University of Central Florida, the director of the Riches Digital Project, and the editor of the Florida Historical Quarterly. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got some really wonderful items to talk about today. A great event in our wonderful city of Sanford. And Julia, let's jump right in. And what's happening this weekend in Sanford?
Well, this weekend, Lisa, we're going to be over at the Hopper Academy, and that's in Georgetown on Pine Avenue. We're going to have a event that will focus on collection of histories from people who grew up in Georgetown, giving them memories of how Georgetown was, what they did, what a great time they had, or maybe even had a bad time in Georgetown. But this is very, very important that we record histories for 40, 50 years ahead. We don't know who's going to want to write and do research on Georgetown, but if they can't find the information, then they're not going to be successful. So we're trying to prepare a place for them to come, find the information or do the research that they need. But that's the work part, and that's when Dr. Lester and her students are going to come in and really do the grunt work on this Saturday. But then we're going to have some fun. So we're having vendors. We got a food truck. We have a lady who's going to be doing face painting. No bounce house, but we want the children to come. We're focusing in on grades 1 through 4. If the children can learn about Georgetown, we know that the older parent might not know, but they can take it home and they can talk about it, and that will help to perpetuate the history of Georgetown.
That's wonderful. You would
Thank
like to
you.
add, Dr. Lester, to what your students and yourself look forward to participating in this project?
Well, my students are part of my economic history class, and we've been looking at Black entrepreneurship over several years now. And now we're focusing on Georgetown and Sanford Avenue as well. And so my students are coming over. 11 students are able to make it, and they're coming over. They will be scanning photographs or other objects that people bring that they want us to scan. When we scan these photographs, with the permission of the donor, we place it in our Riches archive, and then it's available. People can see it. They just come on the website and they can see the images. But also we will provide the donor with a thumb drive that has their images scanned, and of course they'll take their images home. But they can then share it with their family as well. The other thing that we will be doing is collecting oral histories. So we will ask people to give us a short oral history. We may follow up later with a longer oral history, but we would like them to tell us about living in Georgetown, what it was like, what they did as children, what they did as young adults, where they lived. Those sorts of things to really flesh out and let people see what life was like in Georgetown.
Yeah, and Julia, can I ask you, what years are we talking about here when people are going to be sharing memories? What decades are we talking about?
And we're talking, well, you remember now, Georgetown was founded in 1870. I don't think we have anybody still living that can tell us about 1870. But I personally can tell you about 1941 till now. And hopefully there will be some other people who can go back further than I can. But you remember Sanford is a kind of transient place where we don't have very many people who were actually born in Sanford, went to school here, grew up, left and came back. So that's why this is so important. We've got to find that gap between 1870 and 1935 or 40.
Yeah, and so how do you expect to know? I'm curious how you expect to do that when you said there through archives, maybe through material photographs, I would assume, maybe collectibles, people's heirlooms. Is that how you can tell a story?
Exactly. Case in point, everybody that grew up in Georgetown knew Miss Ludy Pugh.
Okay.
Everybody knew her. The museum had a picture of her. They didn't know who she was. And they called me, and I couldn't get over to see it, but I sent Victor Dargan over. Go, Victor, look at that. And he called me back. He said, that's Miss Ludy Pugh. Okay, fine. Everybody knows who she is. So we have pictures of some people. And Miss Ludy Pugh, I don't know when she died, but I know she was a good woman when I was a kid.
Now, say, what's her name again? Miss
Ludy Pugh.
And what can you tell us about Miss Ludy Pugh? Well, like one thing that you know, because I'm wondering.
This is stupid, but all I remember is Miss Ludy Pugh smoked cigarettes. And she always had this long cigarette.
Everybody did back then, though, right?
No, but
Most
she was different. I mean, it was a different site. But I do know this. She was very active in the Elk.
Okay.
She did a lot of public service stuff. She was a member of St. Paul Baptist Church.
Right.
That's all I can tell you, but everybody knew Miss Ludy Pugh.
Yeah, she seemed like I can picture that, with a cigarette in your hand, what that woman looked like. And you speak of the St. Paul Missionary Baptist.
Yes.
We're working on that art project with the city of Sanford, the stained glass.
That's
St. John.
That's St. John.
Okay. Excuse me, I got my saints confused.
That's right.
St. John Missionary Baptist is also an historic Georgetown church.
That's right.
Correct?
Now, remember that there are 5 churches.
Oh, see, this is the important part because that's why we have the steeple structure on Sanford Avenue.
And that's why we're going to put that nice stained glass on both sides of that steeple so that we can have people can come and look at it and see.
Right.
5 churches in that neighborhood built by Prince William Spears, and he designed all of the stained glass, and all 5 of the churches are different.
Yeah, and we're talking 5 churches in a small area, right?
In the Georgetown neighborhood.
Which is how many blocks? I mean, we're talking for people who are listening.
It goes from Sanford Avenue to Celery on the east. From the north, 2nd Street, and on the east, Sanford Avenue.
Yeah. So
I don't know how many blocks that might be, but that's the circumference of the area.
Well, compared to Sanford in itself, the city limits now, we're 26 square miles. So we're a fairly large city, and we have all of these unique historic neighborhoods within the city of Sanford. That's what makes us so special, quite frankly, and diverse. Mm-hmm. But so this is some wonderful information that I'm interested in coming down on Saturday.
Please do.
And you have that. It's called the History Harvest.
Yes.
What a wonderful name for fall in Florida. I would guess it's October. And you've worked so hard, I know, and your committee behind the scenes about gathering.
Yes, we all work hard.
And you've got some sponsors here, I see. Yes?
Sponsors? Oh, yes. We have Hopper Academy. We have the Riches Project, the City of Sanford. Goldsboro is a sponsor, Goldsboro Museum. We've got the museum.
Yes, the Sanford Museum.
Yeah, and then we sponsor ourselves, so to speak.
Yes. No, so this is join us as they celebrate Georgetown's history and harvest and your memories. And I just think that's so wonderful. So, Dr. Lester, could you share what RICHES stands for those people that may not understand? Doesn't mean you have a lot of money in the bank, right? I guess.
No.
I don't know. What is that acronym?
It stands for the Regional Initiative to Collect History, Experiences, and Stories.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, is this one of the first projects, Sanford, that you have participated with your students in, or have you been with our
Oh,
city?
no.
Oh no, we actually started the project. The project is about 12 years old now, and we started the project in Sanford. So we've been working with Sanford for a long time on this project and collecting the kinds of things that don't always end up in the museum because we accept donations, scanned donations from museums, and we have several of them. But what we really want to do is to understand that history that people just know because they live there, or it's family history. And
Yeah.
it's in their attic or it's in their garage or a closet, and nobody really sees it. But the stories they tell, the photographs they have are just unbelievable.
Yes, and it's for those families that have been fortunate enough to keep all those things and been, transferred generation to generation is special in itself. And then you take it out of your house and your home and you bring it to the public so they could learn from that is so interesting too and so important.
It is. It's very important.
Because what do they say about history? If you don't know where you're coming from, how do you know where you're going?
Exactly.
That's
I don't
exactly
know.
right.
Okay.
Exactly
So-
right.
Then on Sunday, there's
Yes.
something else,
On
right, Miss Brunson?
That's right. On Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a community church service. We're going to have participants on that program. We'll talk about, first of all, the mission is, I think they took something from scriptures that said, those who are without vision have no whatever. It's in Proverbs, I'm not sure. But I have two pastors working on that. But that's what the focus is going to be on Sunday afternoon. We're going to have people talking about how St. John, St. James, Church of God, and the Trinity Church, how those churches impacted Georgetown. And we were fortunate enough to find people who actually were members of that those churches. So they're going to have a real different kind of outlook than I would. I couldn't talk about Trinity because I didn't go to Trinity. But that's what's going to happen on Sunday afternoon. Then they're also going to talk about how and where we can go from this point. This is just the stopping off point for this harvest history. This will be continuing. It's not going to be ending on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock when we leave there.
Right.
We are still looking for Sanford or Georgetown residents who live in different places. And I sent mail out to them on yesterday asking them to get in touch with Dr. Lester. They will do Zoom or FaceTime interviews with them and capture the histories for somebody who lives in Timbuktu and can't come on Saturday.
Yeah. And so that's a great point to
Yes.
also. So
Yeah.
yes, it's not just, this is, like you said, just the beginning of that.
Right.
And can you share a little bit for those people about Hopper Academy? It's your event is at Hopper, and that's a special place in itself.
It
too.
is a special place. Hopper Academy, you have to remember, was the only school where blacks could attend in Sanford, in Georgetown. Now, that was grades 1 through 6. They went to school at Hopper, and when they graduated at 6th grade, then they went to Crooms in Goldsboro. So every black child that graduated between 1870 and 1967 or 8 graduated from Crooms Academy, me included.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hopper was the what do you want to call it? The fertilizer, or to put what you ought to be doing.
Yeah.
It was started there.
Yeah. So what brought you back to Sanford? I know you said most people we were transient. What brought you back to Sanford, Julia?
I retired and I was working in Tallahassee, and I just thought maybe I didn't want to be there anymore, but came back to Sanford. Didn't know I was coming back to all of this. I thought I was coming back for retirement.
Yeah, and I like what you say in your not your salutation. Well, in your email, you say something. What is that slogan you have? Your servant something in your emails. You say the same thing, that you are a servant or your community.
Oh, at the end of it?
Yes, at the end.
Yeah,
I always
I use the thing from Pericles. It talks about you having to do something, make it better for somebody else, because somebody did it for me.
Yeah, and so I always appreciate that when I see your emails and what you say in your emails and how you close them out. So, Dr. Lester, is there anything that you'd like to add to this episode about what's going on in Georgetown? I know you're probably very excited about this, and your students, and they're undergrad students, is that correct?
Yes, these are all undergrads. They're in my economic history class. I can say that our long-term plans for what we're collecting is that we would like to create a visualization of Sanford Avenue as it existed in the mid-20th century, so that people could walk down it. It's very beautiful now, and it was beautiful then too, but they look different.
Yeah.
And we would like people to be able to see how it looked in the mid-20th century, and then to take some of these photographs and oral histories and pin them in the visualization. So as you're walking down the street digitally, you can hear someone tell about having worked at this store or having bought their prom dress at this store. You know, those sorts of stories that people tell. And it make it come alive as it was in the past. And of course, then people can see it in the present too.
It does, and it makes the community so much that richer, doesn't it? Because
Yes, it does.
you can go to one of these, and we don't have to mention any other cities or anything, but cookie cutter places where it's brand new construction, and you have the big box stores and the coffee places. But when you can stroll down an avenue like Sanford Avenue with those small businesses, and then also learn about the history of the community, I mean, that to me is just a 100% just great experience all the way around to be able to.
Lisa, this is going to be real special for us in Sanford Avenue, because Sanford Avenue from 6th Street all the way up to 2nd Street was all black owned. And that's something that...
Businesses you're talking about? The merchants? Yes.
Yes, Sanford
merchants.
Avenue. It was all black owned.
Yeah.
And that part of history has been disintegrated. There were no, I mean, every time you walk through Sanford Avenue now, you've got a beer store or something of that sort. But we had drugstores, we had barber shops, shoe repair, beauticians, real estate, dentists, doctors, photographers. All of that was on Sanford Avenue.
It was the commercial district of the
It was the commercial
African-American
district
community.
of Georgetown.
Yes.
And the black
Georgetown.
community.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know, it seems like we're very fortunate, the city, to have UCF want to I mean, this takes it to a whole nother level, I would imagine, because it could be a small volunteer committee just trying to get things going and telling stories together. But now you have our local university that's part of this and partnering. It definitely gives it the stamp of approval or, validity to what you're doing, that it's worth the time and effort of a university program to be part of this.
But think of this analogy. It would be like me standing in the middle of Sanford Avenue trying to point out and tell people stuff, and they would say, that lady's crazy. Let's take her and lock her up. We're going to Baker Act her. Dr. Lester comes with her students, and they pull it all together. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Of
You've
course.
got to have something to relate it to. So that's why, yes, it is very important
Yeah.
that University of Central Florida and the Riches Project rather come and assist us to tell this history.
Yes. Now, how did you find out? About the Georgetown? Is that you're smiling, Julia?
But I had nothing
it was
to
like
do with that.
you did. You did. No. So, but how did the partnership come about with this particular program?
Well, we have been partners with the Sanford Museum for a long time, and talking with them, and then others told me, friends I have here in Sanford told me about what Julia was doing, and so I contacted her and I said, how can we help?
Okay.
And she took me in.
That's really wonderful. So if people want to find out more, where can they go, Julia, to find out more? If they want to read more about, they can listen to this podcast, obviously, but they want to help, if they're interested in history in general, if they want.
That's a wonderful question, Lisa, because on the 19th of this month, we're going to have a public workshop right here in City Hall in the training room downstairs. And we have flyers out. We're going to be distributing flyers on Saturday, inviting folks to come and be a part, give their input, what they think about Georgetown, how they can make it better. So maybe we could get another podcast before then. I don't know.
What date is that, did you say?
October 19th.
Wednesday, the 19th?
It's a Wednesday,
At what time?
6 o'clock.
Okay. And in the utility training room in City Hall?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
City Hall, training room.
Okay.
And what they could come and do, they'll be able to learn about how they can protect the character of that district.
Okay.
We seem to be losing it a little bit because people are putting houses up that look like a Jetson house and Cracker Barrel things, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So we want to bring everybody in to be on this public workshop so that we can get good information to make sure that the integrity of the neighborhood continues as it is.
Sure. And we're so fortunate that Georgetown was designated.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how that happened?
Yes. But it was because it was the first step. Now, what is it called? It's on the National Register of Historic Places.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
right.
kind of like, I don't even have to think about it. It rolls off my tongue because we've talked about it a lot. And forgive me if I ever switch those words around, mumble those words around. Julie Schofield, our historic preservation planner, will call me up and say, that's not what you
that's
need
right.
to say.
And it's very important that everybody know that we are recognized by the National Trust, the National Preservation Trust. We're important.
It is, and the beautiful street signs that are up now. When you come down Sanford Ave and you can see
That's right.
them.
Street toppers that say
Street
Georgetown.
toppers.
Exactly. And then in the middle of all of this, we've got historic St. James AME Church.
Yes.
And that has been on the registry since 1992.
And I met you there first
Yeah, I did.
years
That's
ago,
right.
years ago, inside that church. And yes, it was a privilege. So, ladies, is there anything else we want to say about this wonderful history harvest for historic Georgetown at this time? Just come on down, participate.
Come on down and participate. Check us
Exactly.
out, see what we're doing.
And it's, again, it is on Saturday.
Saturday from 12 until 4
At
at
Hopper
the Hopper
Academy.
Academy. And if you don't want to, we don't have that much parking, so take your car down to Zion Hope, to New Bethel parking lot and to St. James's parking lot, and you can park your car there, and the members of the Sanford Trust will have their club cars, and they're going to ride you back down to Hopper
Okay.
so that you'll be able to get back down there and not have to walk, and then when you get ready to leave, they'll take you back to your car.
Okay, so you're saying the Sanford Historic Trust is going to be participating. That's another
Yes,
nonprofit
they're our
organization.
partners.
They are going to be helping people take them closer to you so you don't
They're
have because of
that's
parking.
right, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you to the Sanford Historic Trust for that. And, well, this has been really enlightening, and I personally enjoy history and think that it's wonderful. There's always room to learn and about where you're from, your city you're living in, and what came before us. So thank you both.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Lisa,
Julia
very
Brunson.
much.
Thank you, Dr. Connie Lester from
welcome.
UCF, Associate Professor at UCF. This is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. Thank you for listening to Sanford Says. You can find this podcast wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcast and on the city website at sanfordfl.gov. Until next time, take care now. Bye.